Can being an introvert be a superpower in business? We're about to find out. My guest just recently gave a TED talk about this, and she and I are about to share 6 ways being introverted is a business superpower. If you're an introvert, let's see if you can identify with these. And if you're using them as an entrepreneur, you might be missing out on taking advantage of being introverted. All right, let's jump in.
There's no wrong way to be an entrepreneur, and that's the dirty little secret the business gurus don't want you to know. They want you to do things their way, but their way may not be your way. The key to success is finding the strategies that work best for you. Welcome to the 6 Ways with Jerry Potter.
Welcome to episode number 37 of the 6 Ways. Every week, we bring on a smart, innovative guest that is thriving in their field of expertise to share their best tips with the rest of us so we can all achieve our entrepreneurial goals. Because I truly believe we all do better when we all do better. My name is Jerry Potter. Yes, it rhymes with the boy wizard. I am an online entrepreneur and introvert. My guest is Erin Kienzle. Erin is a TV host, a benefit auctioneer, and teaches video on Instagram now to entrepreneurs, politicians, all kinds of people. Erin, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jerry. I'm so happy to be here.
So, are we just going to bash on extroverts the whole time? Is that where you see this going?
No, I love my extroverted friends. I'll just say sometimes I think they're exhausting, but we're not bashing them. We're just saying how we're different, right?
Okay. Yeah. Erin and I met at a conference last year. And I want to ask you too, because nobody ever believes that I'm introverted because of what I do. And
Right.
you're on TV. So you must run
Mhm.
into that a lot as well.
Yeah, I hear it all the time. When I gave my TED talk, people were shocked. Like, there's no way you're an introvert. But I'll tell you, and you're probably the same way coming from radio, but a lot of people that I work with over my 20 years of TV, we identify as introverted. Like,
Hmm.
it's really fascinating. You think we'd all be huge extroverts, and I would say probably the majority are introverts.
What about the ones that go out on the street and have to interview people?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I feel like we're gonna talk about it a little bit later, but it's like you have to
Okay.
switch into a different mode, right? Like, you can
Okay.
do it, you can go be bold and ask those questions, but it might not be who you innately are.
Okay. Because when I was in radio,
Yeah.
in the studio, just fine. Go out on the
Mhm.
streets, interview people. Oh, no, I can't. I don't want to do
Yeah,
that.
it made me uncomfortable for sure.
Sounds terrifying. Okay. All right. We're also going to do our question of the week, which is how is being an extrovert a business superpower? So we'll touch on that as well. So make sure you stay till the end for that. So, 6 ways being introverted is a business superpower. Number one, Erin, you kick things off. What do you got?
All right, so this one might surprise you, but I think that introverts are excellent salespeople.
Okay.
I mean, shocking, right? Because you're gonna think that it's the person who is super chatty, the extrovert who can talk to anyone, and, sure, that's true in many situations, but if you think about it, we're all selling, no matter what we're doing for a living. There's some form of selling. Introverts, we are the ones who are going to listen. Right? So instead of just yap, 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 we're listening. I'm listening to your pain points, what you need, how can I help you? But not only am I listening, but I'm analyzing because as you're talking, I'm watching your body language, I'm watching your energy, and I really want to know like what makes you tick. Why are you here? What do you need from me? So then as I'm listening, it might take, the introvert a little longer to process, but when we're ready to make the pitch, it might be maybe a little bit slower. But I think our words perhaps carry more weight because we've given more thought to them. They're more curated, and in turn, they're more powerful. I know many introverts who are the best salespeople I know.
I was surprised when you said that because if I named the two best salespeople I've ever met,
Mhm,
one was a sales manager we had when I worked in radio, and one of them worked at the agency when I was there. And I could just
mhm,
see them close anybody on everything. They were
right.
both so extroverted. But
Mhm.
now that you described that, that totally makes sense. And they say, when you are selling, it's really hard for somebody to like turn on their own words. So if you're listening, you're able to repeat
Right.
back and mirror that back to them. It can be really, really powerful. So, okay.
Well, I
Love that.
learned this from my dad, who's an extrovert, right? But he was in sales, has been in sales his entire life. But he always said when I was little, he said, Aaron, if you want to make anyone like you listen and you ask them questions about themselves. because
Mhm.
everyone likes talking about themselves, right? So, dad was an extrovert, excellent salesperson, but I learned from him that you take that listening skill and that questioning skill that I could do innately as an introvert and turn that into my superpower. That I'm listening to what you're saying, I'm cataloging what you're saying, and then when I make the pitch, you better watch out. It's going to be pretty powerful.
That's great. Thank you, Aaron's dad. All right. Next up, number two, 6 ways being introverted is a business superpower. I really had fun brainstorming, like, what would these be? And as an introvert, it wasn't hard to come up with these. And one of them, I think, as introverts, is we can thrive anytime without people, which is really great for creating content. So,
Mhm.
as a business owner in 2024, creating content is kind of part of what we do, right? To attract our people and convert them and all of that. And some extroverts, not all, but a lot of extroverts need people around to feel their best. And
Mhm.
content creation, unless it's live, can feel a little bit lonely, right? Sometimes you go into a room and you record
Oh, yeah.
15 videos by yourself and you put them out and you hope people like them. And so I feel like as an introvert, we can be better at creating content because we can be at our best without having to have audience feedback or people right in front of us to sort of
Mhm.
validate that what we're doing is the right thing. We find out later if somebody doesn't like what we did. So it lets us be in the moment at that time.
Yeah, but we're just on a roll while we're creating. I love that. That's so true. So true.
So, all right. Next up, number three of 6 ways introverted is a business superpower. Aaron, what do you got?
Okay, so it kind of piggybacks off of what you said. So,
Okay.
introversion, it's all about energy, right? Like we find other people very draining for us. So, introverts, we need alone time to recharge and fill up. So, our superpower with this is I think that introverts have better or stronger motivation. Now,
Okay.
before the extroverts get upset, I'm not saying extroverts aren't motivated, but to your point of like we can create content by ourselves, our motivation, like our drive comes from within. Like we don't like a lot of
Mm,
people around. We don't need that. So when it comes down to like focusing and getting stuff done, we are driven internally and we don't need the external validation or like external sources of goal setting to get us to where we want to go. So I like when I say I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, that comes from here. Like it's my pure drive, my fire. I'm going to get it done. Whereas extroverts, I'm not saying everyone, but they might need like a challenge group or something else to like move them along to keep them motivated.
interesting. Okay. Yeah. And there are a lot of things about being introverted and extroverted that I think surprise all of us. When I
Yeah,
first started helping people with marketing and online content and stuff like that, sometimes the biggest extroverts were the ones that couldn't talk to a camera. But
that's
meanwhile, the
okay.
introverts, like you, who's been doing TV for 20 years, it came very, very natural. So I could see that. Yeah, the internal motivation is there because, again, we don't need to be around other people necessarily
Yeah.
to do that. So, okay,
Mhm.
I love it. All right. Next up, number four of 6 ways being introverted is a business superpower. Um, I think that networking online can be way more efficient. Now, I strongly encourage you to go watch Erin's TED Talk. But one of the things that she shared was that when she wants to be alone, she goes to the bathroom. If you're a
Yes.
parent like she is and I am, I think we can all kind of relate to this. Like, let's have
Yeah.
some alone time here. And so, not for you to think about doing business necessarily in the bathroom, but networking online is so much more efficient. I remember when AOL's Instant Messenger. I'm dating myself, but AOL's Instant Messenger came out, and it was just the first time I just like chatted online, and I was like, man, I can be so much like more fun and witty if I get a second to think about what I'm doing and what I'm going to say and all that
Uh-huh.
kind of stuff. Terrible at a networking event. And so because we can do more of that. So if your business and what you're doing is, grows based on how many people you can talk to
Mhm.
and get in front of and things like that, then
Mhm.
you can do it way more sitting at a computer or on your phone, maybe having multiple
Mhm.
conversations at once,
Mhm.
as opposed to going to a networking event, which an extrovert would love. My wife is a
Mhm.
huge extrovert, and then trying to get into the right conversations with the right people. And then
Right.
not having to feel rude because it's not the right conversation and you're like, "Oh, hang on a second. I've got a phone call," or whatever it
Yeah.
might be.
Yeah, that's so true. I completely agree with you.
Do you find that a lot? Like, do you do a lot of online stuff for your multiple businesses where you're
I
it's just so
I
much
do.
easier
I
to
feel
kind
like I'm
of
a
chat,
I'm
you
a
know?
different person online. Like, I hate in-person networking events. Like we said, not that I can't do them. I go to them, but it's very draining. Like you said, all that small talk. Whereas online, you can be a different person. It's just easier to send someone a DM, to message them, even a voice message. Like, that doesn't require energy. So I really my business has grown online with these amazing people that I met over Instagram that I would
Yeah.
have never met in person because I would have never gone to the event in the first place. So
Yes.
it's a wonderful that we can do those things online that we wouldn't do in person, right?
I love that. Okay. Next up, number 5, 6 ways being introverted is a business superpower. Erin, what do you got?
Okay, so Jerry, I call this one the switch. So I'm sure for those of us, you're on radio, or you've been on radio, I'm on TV. It's like the red light goes on and the switch that we're on air. Well, all introverts, we have that switch, right? Where we innately maybe are a little more quiet. We don't want to be front of the room. We need that time to recharge. But not to say we can't do it. We just have to activate the switch. So it's a superpower if you're aware that you're an introvert. And it took me years to figure this out. I had no idea that I was an introvert. But once I did, I realized, wow, I really have to watch my energy. So if I have a big
Mm.
event coming up and I can guard my energy and like protect it and curate it, then I'm ready to like go. I flip the switch and I can be delightful, charming, energetic, like have a great time. Every introvert has the switch. You can go to the networking event, you can do a great job, you can meet new people, but the entire time, it's draining on you. So once you realize the power of the switch and learn how to time it properly, I think it's a really big superpower for business.
Yeah, and even now, I don't know if I've ever really thought about it as a switch, but I do know that sometimes now that you've set it up that way, sometimes it's hard to turn that switch on. you
Yeah.
know, and there are days, when we did morning radio and we went on the air at 5 a.m., it's like, oh
Mhm.
gosh, here we go. I mean, thank
Mhm.
goodness for caffeine. You do morning TV primarily?
I do. I used to wake up at 2 a.m. for a decade. Now we're on at 10, so it's a little bit later.
So much better. Yes, so much better. All right. Next up, number 6 of 6 ways being introverted is a business superpower. And I think, again, this kind of comes down to efficiency, where an extrovert, and again, I'm not one, so I'm stereotyping a bit, but I'm married to one. They go to events and they walk around the room. You mentioned in your TED talk, because one of the other things you said I thought was so amazing was that as introverts, we don't like small talk, and
Yeah.
extroverts like small talk because they don't know where
Mhm.
it's going to go, where it's going to get them. And
Mhm.
so, what we do when we are networking or marketing or whatever it is we quickly jump to a very specific topic or commonality, even if it's in a
Mm.
room, to attract people around that. And as far as
Mhm.
if we think about business and marketing and nurturing, that gets us to where we want to go much faster without talking about the weather or how are the kids or things like that at the very beginning. And of course, the faster you can do that, the sooner you get more sales. The more sales you get, the more money you can make, all of
Mhm.
those different things. And so that's been my thing always has been, let me figure out what I'm going to talk to people about before I do it. When I speak at a
Mhm.
conference or any conference, I always say I'd rather be on stage because I have
Yep.
something that gives me purpose and a topic
Mhm.
than being mingling in the networking plaza where I'm
Mhm.
just kind of like, oh, what do you do? Oh, okay. And it makes me very uncomfortable. I see you nodding. So you've had that same
I
feeling,
I
I think.
so feel this. Like, the stage is a safe place, right? Because you know what you're gonna say, you have things pre-scripted versus, like, the impromptu of chit chats. So I 100% agree that, like, if we can jump ahead to something purposeful that we know that we wanna talk about it, it just makes us more comfortable and makes it easier, but maybe gets to the sale faster. That's great.
Some people right now think we're nuts too. Like, you'd rather be on
Oh,
stage? It's not for everybody.
yeah,
and,
yeah,
and that's okay. So,
yeah.
all right. Our question of the week here in just a second: how is being an extroverted a business superpower, which we'll
Mhm,
talk about. But I would love to know right now, either answer in your own head, or if you're watching on YouTube, take 30 seconds and let Erin and I know in the comments what was your favorite of the 6 ways that being introverted could be a business superpower. Maybe it's one you already knew you had, or maybe it's something
mhm.
new. But let us know in the comments. We'd love to see all of that. All right, question of the week. I don't think we bashed on extroverts this episode. It wasn't the
No.
intention. Are you married to an extrovert?
I am.
Okay. I
Isn't
know
that
you said your
funny
dad was,
how that
so
like, it's typically you see that, like, one introvert, one extrovert.
yeah, I'm almost half surprised my wife hasn't stormed in like, "Hey, hey, hey." So how is being extroverted a business superpower? So what would you say to an extrovert that's listening to this and going, "Oh, well, hey now, what about me?"
I wanna start by saying I love extroverts. My entire life, I've spent trying to fake it to be one.
Mm,
I thought that's what I had to be because of my career. So when I finally realized I was an introvert, I really fought it. I was like, that's not me. That's not who I am. So I want to be you. I wish I could be an extrovert. I think you guys are lucky that you have more energy. You're filled up by social situations. So that's a superpower that you can keep going, that you're happy to go to all these events. You're going to make more connections than we do. You're gonna when you're making the sale. I know I said introverts can be great at sales, but extroverts, like you can talk to anyone. That's you just have so
yes.
many great things. I know I
Yeah.
just am rambling and it's more than one, Jerry, but I think
No,
extroverts
that's
are.
okay. We have a good friend who's also our real estate agent
Mhm,
here in Arizona, and she just got into it a couple of years ago. And
mhm,
sometimes with with a somebody who hadn't been doing it as long, it would make me kind of nervous.
mhm.
But her business grew so fast, and we've used her twice. She's amazing. And so
Yeah.
that being said, I was like, how did her business grow so fast? And I started watching her, and
Mhm,
literally everywhere she goes, hey, how are you? Oh, interesting. Hey, I like that. Like she starts up conversations
mhm,
with everyone. So she's
mhm,
never had to market. She's constantly getting people through play dates
mhm,
and being in volunteering at events and all this kind of stuff. It's really, really incredible. So that's one thing that extroverts have that
mhm.
makes us, very, very uncomfortable. But a lot
It's
of
such
stuff,
a superpower that they have.
yeah. Yeah. But a lot of stuff I think we talked about today in today's episode, it is kind of like the opposite is totally
Mhm,
true and can be a
mhm,
strength in the other way. It's much
mhm.
easier for, I assume, for an extrovert to slow down and listen than it is for an introvert to try and, be more
Right.
aggressive in the
Mhm,
conversation. So you can quickly do that. You can absolutely network online in your pajamas or in the bathroom or
mhm,
whatever it might be, just like we can. So I do
mhm.
think that even though there are some really cool, empowering things that we talked about today, there are days I would absolutely prefer to be an extrovert and be able to do all of that.
100%. My one daughter's extroverted all the time. I'm like, "I wish I could just be like you." But we're today, Jerry, we're the voice of the introverts and saying it's okay because sometimes I think it is maybe looked at as a negative, right? Like, "Oh, you're introverted," and that's all I wanted to do when I took the stage on TEDx was that it's okay. There's 50% of the population that's an introvert, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and some people that are in between, right? Ambiverts or
Mhm.
whatever they call it. So,
Yep.
all right. If you want to take a deeper dive in anything we talked about today, go to the6ways.com/37. And if you want to connect with Erin, definitely check out her out on Instagram. And if you're looking to get better at video, especially if you're an introvert, because she knows what you're going through, she's got this incredible program to become magnetic on video in just 6 weeks. She's worked with tons of people, high profile, and people that you don't know. That link will include it in the show notes as well. If you liked this episode, two more listener favorites. 6 Ways Entrepreneurs Got Over Their Fear of Being on Camera, episode 28, and 6 Ways Video Podcasts are the best marketing content for entrepreneurs, and it works really well for introverts as well. That's episode 31. We'll include the links in the notes wherever you're watching or listening. Remember, we all do better when we all do better, so keep helping each other out. And Erin, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, Jerry. It's been so much fun.